I'd like to welcome Ian Livingstone to the Noise webinar. And we're going to go, we've lost about 5 minutes, so I'm going to go fairly swiftly to the first question. Daniel, could we get your first question?
Hi, Ian.
Hi there.
Which Daniel?
Daniel Biederman, sorry.
All right. Yeah, hi Ian, for me as well. Thanks for being there and supporting us. And my question would be, what would be your most important advice for a brand new one-man game studio startup?
Well, obviously there's a huge amount of challenges you have being a one-man startup. As games have moved from box products to physical service, changing in business models, it is challenging, but also there's a huge opportunity. A one-man band or one-woman band can now reach global audiences via super high-speed broadband and raise funds from crowdfunding like Kickstarter or Indiegogo and get their product out there and get some data from analytics and metrics. So it's possible to actually reach the market, which was never possible during the world of box products. That's on the plus side of the opportunity. The hard bit, of course, is how do you get any visibility? How are you going to get your product seen? For every Angry Birds out there, there's also 20,000 dead birds. So Flappy Birds, huge success. One person made a lot of money, but that's the exception rather than the rule. So I think for me, the starting point has to be a great game. Unless you have a great game, no matter you spend any marketing money, lots of marketing money on it, or no marketing money, it's not going to succeed if it's not a great game. So that has to be the starting point. So the developer, you have to think, how am I going to do that? The starting point is that you have to be true to yourself. If you are able to make games and you have the passion for it and the determination, then the chances are you'll be successful. So try not to compromise on your ambition. Try not to be me too in your approach to development. And the one thing I would say that's important above all else is retain ownership of your intellectual property. So often is the case we've seen over the years of people having to trade away their IP in return for project finance. So if you can invest in yourself and bootstrap and have a terrible time but get to market without having to give away your IP, that's going to get you off to a great start. And the important thing is the learning process that you'll achieve. People talk about making a game, they have ideas for games, but unless you've made a game, you have no learnings whatsoever. So even if the first one is a disaster, you'll learn so much from doing that. What went right, what went wrong. That'll give you a much better chance of making game 2 a success, game 3, game 4, game 5, whatever it is. And over the course of time, you'll probably partner with people who share your ambition, share your vision, and you'll form a team. And who knows, one day you could be the next big thing.
Daniel, could you just give us a wave? So I've not got people's names coming up this time. Daniel?
Yeah, pardon?
Could you just give us a wave?
Yeah.
I've not got your name coming up. Oh, there, good, okay. And now, Mike Redmond.
Thank you, by the way.
Okay. Mike Redmond, could you give us, now they're coming up. Let me get to you, Mike. I think it is that you, Mike? Okay, perfect. Could we have your question?
Hey, my question, I've just finished a degree in illustration, so I'm more into the art and design side of video games in particular. And with so many people wanting to get into the industry, I was wondering if you had, what would be your main advice for someone trying to make their portfolio stand out from the crowd, because there is just so much of it.
Well, in many ways, in the way I answered the first question, you have to be true to yourself and build up a portfolio of work that you can actually show an employer if that's the route you want to go. Or you can just publish yourself if you can afford to do that in your spare time whilst you're doing other stuff. You haven't got funding to get to market today. But I think you have to try and differentiate yourself as much as possible. And people are able to do that in the mobile space in particular. I think it's well known that console gaming has become an iterative process whereby it's a kind of an arms race for artistic fidelity, and there's only incremental increases, improvement in what these 3D models look like, running through these incredible immersive 3D landscapes. So a lot of the environments, a lot of the characters look largely the same, but in mobile in particular, you can find new ways to express yourself artistically. And it's often art for art's sake, and perhaps the commercialization of that art will come alongside that. So I think you can see some really visually stunning and differentiable games in mobile, which wasn't seen previously in the console era, and you just have to admire some of the, whether it's Limbo or some of the great different styles of stuff that have created emotional engagement with their users. And then once you get that emotional engagement, you're halfway there to them wanting to play your game. So if you have a distinctive art style that you think resonates with a wide audience, and you're able to tap into sort of childhood memories that can resonate with your kind of inner soul without getting too carried away with the description of it, I think you could be off to a good start. But the important thing is to learn from others, but don't copy others.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Sue, could we go to you for your question, please?
Hello, Ian. My question is, what advice would you give someone if they wanted to combine creativity and entrepreneurship such as you have?
It's often said that a lot of creative people are not very good at running businesses. Some creative entrepreneurs have succeeded, but an awful lot haven't. The problem with a lot of creatives is that they want to do it all, but they're not able to do so. There's no reason to justify a creative person doing the back returns or ordering the toilet paper or trying to raise finance. That should be done by a business partner. But if you are able to do both functions, that is great. The thing is, you've got to be not afraid of failure, of going out there and being pushed back all the time on your idea. So if you've got an original idea, it's likely to be pushed back. So you've got to have self-belief and determination to make it happen. And that involves sacrifice, because it's not always possible for creative people to raise money. When I started my first business back in the 1970s with an old school friend, Steve Jackson, we were obliged to live in a van for 3 months because we couldn't get any finance from the banking institutes. We launched Dungeons and Dragons, and you go to a bank manager and say, hello, I've got this great game, it's a role-playing game, you're a hero, a wizard, or a cleric, and you've got these fantastic journeys of the mind, interactivity, theatre on the fly, and it can last for 48 hours. And the bank manager looks at you rather like a dog watching television, kind of nodding his head all over the place and urges you politely outside. But I think if you follow your heart and your passion and you don't mind being pushed back, you will succeed. And if you have got those twin strengths of creativity and an entrepreneurial brain, it's going to put you in a good place. The problem I found is that where people have scaled their businesses, the creative people, and brought in business people for the right reason, that's great. So they can carry on doing what they're good at or what they're best at, and let the business people scale the business and do all the stuff they shouldn't be doing or don't want to do. Never let control go to the business people. It seems to me that everybody has an opinion on games, and the bean counters tend to want to make games that were popular last year rather than creators who want to make games that they predict might be popular next year. So always retain creative control no matter what, and let the bean counters monetize your ambition.
I'm going to just ask one question from Kat, who couldn't make it. And the question is, what made you create a female protagonist for the Lara Croft games? Was it because there were so few female leading game characters?
It wasn't I who created Lara Croft, it was a chap called Toby Gard. He worked at Core Design, a studio that was acquired by Eidos, and I was executive chairman of Eidos at the time. And he'd been tasked with creating a new character for a game that was already in existence by Core Design, which had a male character. The character was called Rick Dangerous. So it was a toon raiding game with loads of things to discover, but it did actually look and feel, the packaging, like Indiana Jones. So this was a PC game, and as the games industry grows up over time and acknowledges copyright quite rightly, it was decided that a new character was required. And Toby, this was the mid-90s, had seen the rise of girl power, icons such as Tank Girl and singing like Nana Cherry, and realized that wouldn't it be great for the coming console era of PlayStation, with a character, which is a 3D character moving into a 3D world, and a female character might be worthwhile, because A, there were no female characters, and B, it had to differentiate itself from the old Rick Dangerous. So he proposed the first Lara Croft figure. It's actually called Lara Cruz, but somebody decided Cruz didn't sound particularly English, so we went through the phone book and came up with the name Lara Croft, and thus Lara was born. And was launched in October 1996, and nobody realized how powerful a character she would become. Of course, that was helped in later years by the huge success of the two major movies starring the wonderful Angelina Jolie.